because they've got like 3 guys who are dudes who can play like the 1, the 2, or the 3, and a guy who can play the 2, the 3, or the 4, and then a guy who could be like another guy 2, the 3, or 4. And they said like the flexibility and just being a skilled person has just made that thing go together. Whether if we started a company and we were looking for, we had Jew for a little while, and the exact guys, trying to fit those guys in.
He had unbelievable skill, but no.
Yeah,
It's like
there was no vision.
If you use a sports, somebody like Terrell Owens, unbelievable talent, but basically is poison to every team he's on.
Yeah.
And it ruins the team.
So, another example, if you look at Parcells, he went over, started his career basically with the Giants. It's kind of where he got his, thing going. He turned around on that franchise. Then he goes on, did the same thing with the Jets, I believe. Then he went with the Cowboys, turned around the team. He understands what kind of people. And a lot of times if you listen to sports, they'll say, well, Parcells brought on a few of his guys, Parcells people.
Yeah.
Well, who are Parcells people? Most of them are retired. Brian Cox, whatever, he retired. There wasn't a lot of these guys left anymore. But he understood what kind of people for the team. So I just want to encourage you guys to think about that as we're moving forward. It's so important to have the right people on the team, not necessarily skill-focused. So, Dan, as you're looking to add more people to the photography side, it's not about who's the best photographer, who has the most skill. It's about, you sincerely enjoy painting the picture with the photos. You get it. You know what I mean? You like that. But you can't train that. You know what I mean? So you got to find people that like that. You got to find people that like the sales. You got to find the team. On the DJ side, you have to continue as we grow, finding people that really get a joy out of. You guys could talk for 3 weeks about your Christmas craziness that you did because you're funny people. You like to have fun, and there's other people that don't enjoy that, and so they wouldn't be good DJs. Moving along, he says, point 2, he says, having the right people on the bus will prevent management problems that plague companies and sap valuable resources, like we said. The 30 says, maintain rigorousness in all personnel decisions.
Yeah.
Now, there's a little bit of pragmatism that has to be brought in here because who's Jim Collins? Well, Jim Collins is a researcher. He writes books. Have you ever made a list of the perfect thing? You make a list of the perfect party. You're like, I'm going to invite this guy and this person, that person, and then for whatever reason, the day of the party comes and it doesn't work out the way you want it to. You know what I mean? You had all the variables in place. You had this big plan, big expectations, like Clark Griswold. You got all the Christmas lights. You got them all out individually. You've gone through, and then you turn it on, it doesn't come on. It's because someone flipped the light switch in the basement. You know what I mean? It's always so on paper. Things don't necessarily, in my opinion, work. In reality, sometimes there's a balance there. So I will say on the DJ side, it's very important that we continue being discerning, but we also have to realize you've got to have people on the bus to make the thing go. You know what I mean? We can't have 45 weddings and have 20 people because we insist on interviewing 20 before we hire one. We can't do that. But at the same time, we can be more discerning and maybe have 4 or 5 of those guys that when you interview them are not going to work out. Just go ahead and save them the time and just be done with it. On the photography side, instead of really trying to mold and craft, I think it's a lot of times we're kind of at a point now where we figure out, okay, who's good at this, who's good at that. Let's get them where they're successful and let's go on. The next thing here, it says, consider moving potentially failing employees and managers to new positions, but do not hesitate to remove personnel who are not actively contributing. On a practical level, who here has had to fire somebody at a job before? Okay, I'm going to pick on you for a second, Cameron. I'll film you for a second. Is it okay? When you had to fire somebody, what does it feel like?
That's not good. You kind of feel bad for the situation, but at the same time, you can't have somebody who's not...
Let's think of just one person in your mind real quick. Choose one. Okay, when you had to fire this person, why did you have to let him go?
Because he wasn't doing what he was supposed to.
Does he...
Repeatedly.
Do you think he'd want to grow up and be a Taco Bell manager?
No.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Okay, the thing is that he didn't want to be there. But there is people in this world, believe it or not, and David Novak, the CEO of Yum Brands, is one who wanted, when he grew up, he wanted to be top of Taco Bell. He wanted to be the top guy. There's not a lot of people that say, I want to be the top guy at Taco Bell, is my career. But he did. So every step of the way, he worked his way up. There's a lot of people here. Have you guys ever worked at a cubicle job where you're in a cubicle in a room where it's quiet? You ever done that kind of thing? You ever feel like, oh my gosh, this is my life and I'm losing a second of it every time I say, oh, I'm just losing my, I think at Faith Highway, some of us might have felt that way at times. You're like, oh my gosh, I'm losing my life. I only live one time and I'm losing my, you feel like that. But there's people that are like, this is the perfect work environment for me. I love this, And so it's a matter of getting people that are excited about where they're at. Point 4. Keith, could you read point 4 here in the notes?